Good morning, everyone. I'm going to tell you about how real gardening came about and obviously the difficulties that were faced because of A, my age, and B, being a woman, but through adversity, as we all have done, we overcome that and actually prove everyone wrong. What happened was when I was 16, my father asked me if I could plant a veggie garden at home. He told me that if I would plant the veggies, he would buy them from me and not from the fruit and veg. I was always the type of child that I was either painting a wall or putting up shelves or deciding to take up the carpet. So he thought I've never shown any interest in gardening, so maybe this would, keep me occupied for a while. So what happened was we went along to the local Keith Kirstens, and I remember standing there and holding the seed packet of 800 tomato seeds, knowing that I only had enough space to plant 3 because I meticulously figured out which area was in full sun and, how many I would be able to put where. It coincidentally was only the size of a front door that I could plant. So when I turned to the sales assistant and said, well, I only want 3 seeds, where can I buy 3 seeds? I don't want 500. She laughed and told me that this is the way things have been done since she can remember, probably since the early 1900s. So either I bought the 500 seeds or I didn't. So I begrudgingly put the 500 seeds in my trolley and moved on. And then we got to the fertilizer aisle. And I was being told I needed this bag of fertilizer for the seed and that bag of fertilizer for that seed. And all the bags came in 1 or 2 kilograms. But I'm being told I need a teaspoon here and half a teaspoon there. So again, I turned to the sales assistant and said, well, where can I buy, 100 grams of fertilizer? And again, I was told either you take the kilogram or you don't. So I put all of this seed and fertilizer, a lot more than I needed, into the trolley and went to the till and was so mortified that I only needed to plant 4 different types of vegetables. I only had the space to plant 4 veggies. But at the end of the day, what I needed to buy came to nearly 200 rand. That was 8 years ago. So I immediately started to realize that, well, maybe it is cheaper to just go and buy your own vegetables, but that shouldn't really be the case. So now I'm more determined than ever to actually do this properly because I'd spent so much money on all of the surplus. I got home and I started to figure out, what was going to go where. And I was sitting in the middle of the vegetable patch. I had a tape measure between my knees. I'd drawn centimeter signs on my fingers so I knew what was going where and how deep. And I just felt that I just had no control. The more I breathed on the seeds, they just were going everywhere like little specks of pepper. The hardy-dar was sitting at the end of the patch. The minute I stood up, he just decided to eat everything I just so laboriously put in. And I was at my wit's end because my hands were getting damp, seeds were all clinging. If any of you have planted a veggie garden, you know what I'm talking about. And I asked my maid, Maggie, to come out and help me. And Maggie had always been very anti-gardening, and I never really questioned why. But I persuaded Maggie to come and help me by telling her that I promised she didn't need to garden. She just needed to hold the seed packet because her seeds were dry, her hands were dry, and pass me the seeds one by one and tell me what the seed packets were saying. So tell me the depth and the width. And I would be the one on my hands and my knees in the garden. And it was only when she turned to me and said, well, she can easily pass me the seeds. That's not the difficult part. But she couldn't understand what the seed packets were telling her to do. And that was the one aspect that I took for granted. I've had a wonderful English and mathematical education. So those sometimes difficult words were very easy for me to understand. So when I sat down with Maggie, and now the gardening was put aside because this was far more interesting to me, when I started to talk to her about, well, where does the hatred, or not the hatred, but the disillusionment towards gardening stem from? She said, well, she's got a lovely piece of ground in Rustenburg where her children live, and she once decided she was going to plant a vegetable garden with her children. So she went along to the local shop, and like me, she had to buy copious amounts of seeds and fertilizer. She couldn't, at that point, afford the fertilizer, so she just bought the seeds. She brought them home and, again, didn't know how to plant them. And she felt she said she felt stupid because she thought that, they've even got simple drawings that children should understand, but she didn't understand them. So when she put the seeds in the ground, she sprinkled them like you always see the cartoon of Farmer Brown doing. And when nothing grew, probably because a bird had eaten it or the water had pushed it to the surface or pushed it deeper, she again was made to feel stupid, she said. So she never tried it again, and she became very disillusioned with the whole concept. So I decided that I needed to create a way that would make gardening fun for me and easy and would enable Maggie to do it. So along came Real Gardening. So Real Gardening is a pre-fertilized seed strip. You can see that the seeds are inside here. Wherever there's a little leaf, the seeds are inside here at the right distance apart. You pop it in the ground so that the colored area is above the soil. So automatically the seed is at the right depth, and the colored area then indicates what the type of seed is. Obviously purple for beetroot, peas are green, and the organic fertilizer is inside here as well. So basically, now you would be able to buy your seeds per the meter or for real, like you could buy one cigarette out of a cigarette box, and you pop it in the ground and you add water. So what happened was I entered it into a science competition to pass science at school, and I won a gold medal at the national competition, the ESCOM Expo. So the Department of Water Affairs and Forestry phoned me and said, how much water does it save? So I did a lot of tests, and it saves 80% water. So I was sent overseas to Stockholm, and I competed in the Stockholm Junior Water Prize and ended up being the first South African ever to win that, which was wonderful world recognition. But when I came back, everyone was very interested in giving me a bursary to go and study. Subsequently, I am still studying architecture, but no one wanted to put money behind my idea. So when I was doing my internship here, the idea basically went in the bottom drawer. And when I was doing my internship here, I did a design for Anglo-American, and they came to the party and said, well, this should be implemented in all of the mines, all of the communities, and every little garden. So Anglo gave me a startup loan. We started up the company. A lot of research and development because the paper didn't exist, the glue didn't exist. And we opened our doors on the 12th of February, and I now employ 9 previously unemployed mothers. I prefer to employ mothers because you're changing the next generation, and I encourage them to bring their children to learn at the business when they matriculate. And we are growing daily. We've just been accepted by Pick and Pay, so you'll start seeing the product in Pick and Pay. And basically how we develop it is you'll see here's a complete vegetable starter garden. So it's got 10 different types of veggies in here. It's all designed for you according to companion planting. So you literally just follow the back, pop it in the ground, add water. Here's herbs as well. So there's little sachets you can just pop in a pot. This is chili, coriander, and mint. They make the most divine housewarming gifts. I've got brides phoning me and giving them as gifts at weddings. And the wonderful thing is we're actually creating the synergy between having fun in the garden, actually teaching children where plants come from, growing, and enabling everyone on an equal footing. So that was Real Gardening.